dancing is completely optional. We do highly encourage, though. Ivy Speakeasy did this little jig for us, and man, is she talented.
All right. We've got Miss Elizabeth and Michael here tuning in every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. And this week on Humpday Exchange, we're talking with Erik Terwey, Democratic candidate for Oklahoma's 2nd Congressional District, a former teacher, small business owner, and community advocate. Erik's running to bring working class voices back to Washington. Stick around; you don't want to miss this one. Mr. Terwey, would you mind kicking us off and telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so everything you said was 100% on, except I've actually never owned a small business. I just work for one and manage one. So that's the only correction. But I have grown up in Oklahoma my entire life. I've lived here. We came to Bartlesville when I was really young. Um, I went through wonderful public schools here in Bartlesville. And every time I tell my story, I make sure to mention that because everything that happens afterward was directly related to the education that I got for free as just a regular old kiddo in Oklahoma. So, that's something I like to highlight every time that anyone will listen to me talk. So I had great public schools, and I know how that can change the direction of your life. It can take a kid who has a family where, graduating from high school is just not done. It can make that kid go to college. It can have that kid get 2 degrees. It can have that kid teaching other kids how to climb out of a cycle of poverty. And so education is really powerful. And I knew I had to go get more of it after high school. So I went to OU and I got a couple degrees there, one in French and one in French literature. After my master's, I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to go teach for a little bit. And but I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to land. And I found a great organization called Teach for America. I applied to them. I got in. It's a very, very difficult to get in. I still don't know how I did it to this day, but they asked us, when you get into that program, they're like, hey, where do you want to teach? Where do you don't want to teach? And, I picked all of the places you would think that a gay guy in the middle of the country would want to go to. I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to go to Boston. I wanted to go to Washington, D.C. And so these are the places that I asked for. And my family has, lived in the South my whole life. My dad's lived in Alabama and Florida. And I just knew I love the South. I've seen it. I've done that. And I didn't want to go teach there. So that's what I put down. And while I was doing my teaching, they do teacher training. While I was doing that in New York City, they told me, hey, guess what? You're not going to go to the Northeast. In fact, we've created a whole new program that didn't even exist when you applied, and we think you'd be just tailor-made for it, so we're going to send you there. And I thought, wow, you think I'm tailor-made for this? Okay, I'll go. They flatter you for sure, and then they send you to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I thought, are you kidding me? I thought I was leaving. So I came back here, and I taught. They ask you to give 2 years, and Teach for America sends teachers to the kinds of schools where nobody will apply to teach. Much less, have quality teachers fighting for those jobs. And so they ask you to give 2 years, which is usually just about all people can give. I loved it. I'm a sucker. And so I gave 5. But then about my 5th year, there were too many shootings happening. Sandy Hook happened, and I decided I needed to kind of leave the classroom. It wasn't safe any longer. The legislature had made it clear that we were enemies of the state, basically. Just following our curriculum made us some kind of left-wing Marxist extremists. And, being told that every day just has an effect. So I left that, came home, helped a friend manage her small business. That's Jared's Frozen Custard here in Bartlesville. It does gangbusters. Everyone loves it. So that's what I've been doing. But teaching, you get to see how public policy affects a lot of people besides yourself. We all know what, the government shutdown does to us personally. We all know what a tax cut would mean for us personally, but we don't often get the luxury these days of thinking about everybody around us. And when you're a teacher, you don't have the luxury of not thinking about every single kid in that classroom. And when they're all coming to you so damaged in so many different ways on purpose by society, it's you just realize something has to change, right? So you see how public policy can affect other people. You know how it affects you. And then I've kind of gotten to see now, running this small business for the last 10 years or so, how public policy affects small business owners who absolutely are the lifeblood of our economy. I know everyone would like to think that it's the Apples and the Amazons, but they are the monsters that are eating us from within. It is the small businesses on Main Street, the moms and pops. Those are the kinds of businesses that we need in this country. Those are the kinds of businesses that we should be supporting. Those are the kinds of businesses who need breaks. And I know that firsthand because I've seen it. I know what happens to those people who struggle to get those businesses off the ground. Meanwhile, we're handing out billions of dollars to companies, just so they can drill more oil and make more money, or so that they can bail out other economies in other continents. I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's a little bit frustrating, to see that. But I've gotten to see all these different ways in which how things affect people, business, education, just life in general. And a couple years ago, I got really sick, and I ended up in the hospital for a week, and I had $100,000 in medical debt. I had insurance, and so I was able to fight to get a lot of that paid for. But the point is, we still had $11,000 in out of pocket that we had to cover. And, your deductibles can be pretty high, even if you have insurance. So there was a lot that came out, and we had just bought a house at the height of the insurance or the rates, right? So they were as high as they were ever going to be. That's when we finally found a house. And so, I have all that student debt. I have a big mortgage that we're trying to pay for. I know what crushing, crippling medical debt looks like from a broken ass healthcare system. And, you just start adding all of these things up. And I just said, you know what? It's time. It is time to get in this race and do something about it, because nobody is talking about the things that I need them to talk about. And if they're not going to talk about it, damn it, I'm going to talk about it, and I won't shut up until they make me. So that's where we're at now, here in November 2025. But yeah, that's kind of why I got into the race, and where my heart is.
I love that really great breakdown and a very great insight into. I can see the thought process of getting to where we are now and your fight there. That's awesome. Thank you for that. I know Miss Elizabeth is going to kick us off. She's going to start us off with her questions. Can't hear you over there, Miss Elizabeth. Still can't. No, ma'am.
Gosh, I wish I could read lips.
Are you muted?
No, I
No,
don't
she's
think
not muted.
Like watching one of those great old films from like the 30s or something. I feel like someone should be playing the piano right now.
I'll kick it off to Mr. Michael. No, ma'am.
Still no?
Not yet. Miss Michael, why don't you
No,
start
I
us off?
just heard her. I just heard her.
You did?
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
There we are.
Little green light. I was like, hello. So sorry. I actually had it all taken care of beforehand. I apologize. Yay. So thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you I love your passion. I feel like you fit right in. So when you talk about some of these changes, what are your plans to implement this?
Yeah, so first we've got to win. And that's something that, is easy to say and not necessarily as easy to do. We saw some really great wins last night. I don't think that those can be overstated. We kicked their asses last night across the country. We swept the board, and that's exciting. And it wasn't just we were supposed to win in places like Virginia, but it wasn't just a win. We really won big time. And so I think that capturing that energy, harnessing this energy, this moment, making sure that people are aware that this is a special, different time. That's part one, of helping make sure that we are elected. Organizing, making sure that we've got the strategy and the networks in place, making sure that they're ready for after the primary to implement a great plan in the counties. That's another way that we get there. And once we get there, we have to start talking about the things that actually matter. Too often, people get to Washington and they get sucked right into that power machine. They want to get along. They want to be in the rooms. They want to make those friends. They want to rub elbows. And I just can't, I don't think that there's a way for me to adequately convey to you how disgusting I think that is. It's just not something that I'm interested in. It's not something I want. And it's, dare say, something that makes me feel like I almost would like to commit to being a one-term congressman, because I know what happens to people when they become, minions of donors, or they have to answer to corporate interests. And often, in order to keep your seat, you have to start pandering to those people. So we're not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not going to sell my soul. I just won't do it. So when I get there, you do have to play nice with some people, but I think that you should know from the start that I am a loud guy who is going to make some noise, because not enough damn noise is being made about the fact that our hospitals are closing. They are not talking enough about how many of our veterans are sleeping on the streets tonight. They're not talking about how many of our kids are literally starving. It's not just hunger. These kids are starving, and it's wrong. It is immoral, and they need to have their asses held to the fire for it. So I'm going there primarily to make some noise, because when more of us are elected, when there's more progressives, and we saw some progressives win last night,
Right.
some big time progressives, when there's more of us there, we will have a better chance of affecting these changes. But listen, we all know you absolutely must shoot for the stars if you're ever going to get to the moon. You have to. You have to go big. And I am so tired of mediocre ass politicians and really, really pathetic Democrats just barely towing the line. I want big, bold, transformative ideas in place in Washington, D.C. We've got plenty of them. And I'm excited to share some of those. So, but I think that you've got to talk about big projects. These have to be massive type scale. We're talking New Deal type stuff, because our problems are as big as they've ever been, and our solutions need to match the moment. And so, it's about starting those conversations, making people realize we can't just stop at Medicare for all. Lots of people would like to think that's the answer. No, that's the temporary solution until we build clinics across the country, because that's missing. That's a missing piece. If we just snap our fingers tomorrow and say, hey, guess what? We're all covered by Medicare for all. There are still people who are hours and hours away from access. That's not health care. And so we've got to build out that access. We need rural clinics. We have to rebuild them because they closed them and they've fallen apart. We have to educate the people who are going to be working there, and they can't be affording a $500,000 education. We need to provide that to them because they're going to be working for us, taking care of us. I mean, that's how healthcare needs to work. It can't be for profit. We're going to move it away from being for profit. And I'm not one of those guys that talks out of both sides of my face. I don't think that it should be for profit at all. We're going to move away from that. If you've got money in healthcare, that's wrong. You're immoral. It's disgusting. You shouldn't be making money off of that. Pull it out right now. It's gross, and we're going to stop that.
All right. Do you have like ideas like lined out that you're like, hey, I think this would be a good place to start, and like that way you could let like the constituents know, like, hey, I need your help with this, and then that way, you know, we can support you in that as well.
Yeah, so if you are looking to get involved, like with the campaign, are you talking about the campaign?
No,
or
just what your policy or what your ideas are. Like, what is your plan, right?
You know,
we keep hearing concepts of a plan, like from like other places. Like we know what the issue is. We want to know what the solution is, and like kind of what your plan is for that, right? Like,
yeah,
of course, we want you elected and all the things, but why are we electing you, right? Like, what is it like that you're going to implement that we can get behind?
Yeah, and I think that going back to talking about healthcare, you know, that's the
Correct.
thing that I think that more people in Oklahoma care about, other than economic issues. More people care about that than probably anything. And then I know that we all care about education. I care about that more than most things. But we can only care about, you know, so many things that are falling apart at a time. And so, you know, like I said, Medicare for all is something that we have to push for, and we have to push for now. That's step one. That is step one. We have to include more people on healthcare. So we've got a government right now that is trying to throw people off of healthcare. They're trying to make it more difficult for you to access the healthcare that you're paying for right now, right? So we need to roll that back. We have to expand it. And that's the only thing that we can do. We can only expand it. I mean, if we keep trying these half measures where we create marketplaces and you pitch in some and we'll pitch in some, and it's not working. And Republicans aren't wrong about that. There are real problems with it. And that's why they're having success sometimes with that message. And so, you know, expanding healthcare to everybody is step one. Step two, then, is making sure that everybody has access to that. Because again, it doesn't matter to tell someone, hey, you've got health care, if they can't go see a doctor. And so we've got to start addressing both the shortage of hospitals and clinics across the country, and then we have to address education. The next thing we would talk about would be education, because you have to start educating the workforce that you're going to be putting into those buildings that you're building in the next few years, right? So nurses, doctors, you know, all of those medical professionals, we're going to need to provide education for them. And we're going to train them just like we would have trained teachers back in the day. Oklahoma was the most incredible breeding ground for teachers back in the day. That's what we did. We made teachers, and we taught America. And I think that if we get back to that kind of teacher education strategy, but do it with nursing, do it with doctors, and do it in every state across the country, we can start to rebuild our healthcare system. And that's kind of step one, is looking at healthcare. That's what I'm most interested in fighting for, because there is just no reason why people should be dying of very simple diseases and sicknesses, illnesses. There's just absolutely no reason why that should be happening in any civilized country. But you would think we would have enough pride to make sure that it wasn't happening in ours. And so we have to do that first.
I've got to jump in here because this has been something that I have been working on. Would you guys mind trying to mute, because it's given a bunch of feedback? But yeah, didn't help. Never know with these things. First of all, I would, if I could, I would move to your district just so I could vote for you. So thank you for that, because you're the first person that has come out and really addressed the emperor has no clothes, and that we are being pillaged every which way. So thank you for that. And then the solution, man, like what I'm hearing you talk is kind of some of the programs that we're looking at rolling out. Yeah, we got the greenhouse project that we're trying to do in all 77 counties, but that's just the start of the community. You know, you start growing food for people and they start coming together. So you feed them. And then we're working on a one for stewarding housing and buildings, where we can rehab homes that are abandoned and put stewards in there. And instead of them paying rent, they pay volunteer hours. Maybe that's at the nursing home. Maybe that's at, a daycare. Who cares? And maybe they have a greenhouse, maybe they don't. But the healthcare part of it for me is one, the regional clinics, because I grew up in the 80s here in Oklahoma and we had regional hospitals. We had clinics that we could go to. The health department was in every county with everything that you needed for basic care. And then there was the regional hospitals. And why can't we steward healthcare too? Right? Returning us back to our roots where we just took care of each other. We have doctors and nurses right now and therapists that have come to us offering volunteer hours with their services. So why can't we build a program where everybody is taken care of, especially in healthcare? None of us, called our parents before we were born and said, I want to be born in America. I want to look like this. I want these genes. I want these neighbors. I want you to have this income. Like we didn't choose any of that. And so for the first 18 formative years of our life, we lived under everyone else's rules without ever really being able to establish our own. And then we're thrown out of the nest and told, figure it out. And some of us have like bumpers with, decent parents who helped us along the way, or grandmas or grandpas or whatever that looked like, aunts, uncles, you name it. We have been convinced through capitalism that it's better for them to go, boom, pay this. You need to kick these kids out because they need to be responsible for paying their own mortgage, their own health care, their own insurance, blah, blah, blah. So how can we as a society, or as even Oklahomans, start building on the momentum of the wins from last night, of the voices like yours that are willing to take the big swings right now? I commented on one of Oklahoma Democrats' posts that these were not just blue no matter who people. They were progressives that won last night. Yeah. And there's a difference. And that's what America needs right now. And that's what Oklahomans need. So to me, sending you up there makes the most sense because you're willing to take those swings. And so I appreciate that. How can, or what are you doing to help rally support for all of these policies to help you get those kind of things passed? Like, are you building coalitions right now within our state and outside of our state with other people running for office?
That's a great question. In fact, right now, weird plug, I'm in a group that's called Men for Choice. I don't know if you can see that. So this group is dedicated to the idea that men need to get involved in the fight for reproductive freedom for women, and as allies, not as leaders, but as the support cast. And the reason being that 60% of men actually support women's choice, but only 1% feel empowered to actually do something about it. And only 1% feel like it's their issue. So I'm in a group that meets 3 times a week with 85 guys who are coast to coast. And we do a new cohort like every 3 or 4 months. There's a new group that comes through and we bring a lot of guys in. And the whole idea behind it is networking. We've been phone banking, text banking, and door knocking in Virginia specifically. Those delegate races that were won down ballot, because I know everyone wants to talk about the governor's race and the lieutenant governor's race, and those are good, but they kicked ass in the delegate house. They picked up like 13 seats or something. I mean, it's incredible what they did. And it was networking with groups like this, who who are on the ground, who are across the country, who have their fingers in all kinds of campaigns, who are working together to make sure that this isn't we're in our own silo and, they're in their silo and their silo, and we just pray to God that we all make it on our own to the top. No, this is a we all rise together kind of moment. And so we are reaching out. I am making those connections. They're hard and difficult to make. You try to have conversations with men in Oklahoma about abortion. It's difficult. And on that note, if you know any guys who want to talk about abortion, let me know. Michael, yes, excellent. I'm having an online conversation next week. And I would love to include, anybody who's interested in that. So just know that we are reaching out. We are building coalitions. I am in contact with other candidates who are running across the country. We see each other's social network or our social media. We look at that and think, oh my God, yes, I need to be doing that. So we start reaching out to each other. We talk to each other. You know who is like you, who isn't like you. You can see a progressive and a corporate Democrat, and you know which one is which, and you know who the good guy is. And so you call them, you text them, you let them know, hey, I'm so glad you're in the race. Let me know what I can do to help you. You reach out to other Okies that are running for different seats across the state, and you say, hey, I'm running for Congress. We have a little bit of area that overlaps. Do you want to give me some of your materials? When I go there, I can make sure that that gets delivered. It's little things like that. I know that doesn't sound big, but trust me, it's huge for a candidate to know that they're supported by other candidates or that someone's paying attention to them. You really can't overestimate the power of a like or a share or a repost. I swear to God, it is sometimes the only way that you feel like somebody is paying attention. And on some days, that's the only attention you get paid. So just know that we are reaching out. We are making those connections. We are making sure that this is a movement. This isn't one campaign in Eastern Oklahoma. This is a movement across the country, and we're just one teeny tiny part of a much, much bigger movement. Yeah. Great question.
Freshman voting block 2027, I would not want to go up against right now. I'm just saying. Not what I'm seeing.
It's going to be amazing. We're going to be the best freshman class you've ever seen. It's going to be incredible.
Love that. I love that. I do just want to say, I know we've got some questions in the comments, but we are going to kind of go through our little interview process first, and then we'll kind of get some of those questions if that works.
Sure.
I'm going to pass this over to Michael, unless you guys have any questions or comments.
No, perfect. Hey, I first want to compliment you on your plants behind you. I'm a big plant person. So.
I have a million monsteras in my house right now.
Same.
So they're driving me crazy, and it's only going to get worse because you got to bring everything in. So they're about to take over my whole house.
So I guess mine's like kind of a two-part. So first one would be, do you support raising the minimum wage here in Oklahoma? And then also, I know that you work with small businesses. How do you plan to support those small businesses while also raising the minimum wage?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks. So I do support raising the minimum wage. We know that there are people who are making $7 and change in this state, and that's just absolutely not enough to raise a family. It's not enough to feed yourself. It is not enough to put a roof over your head. And asking people to work multiple jobs just so that they can do these very basic things is, again, I keep saying inhumane, immoral, but I believe that these things are immoral to ask people to do that in our kind of society. So yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I don't even think that 15 is enough. We need to be making more than that. I make $15 an hour, and I can tell you that while that's generous of my small business owner to be able to pay me that, she makes it work. She pays all of her not all of them as well as me because they haven't been there a million years like I have. But she pays them much more generously than I think many people would, and it's because she has always kind of gone into the business with that mindset that workers should be treated with respect. And if I can't afford to run a business and respect my workers, then perhaps I shouldn't have a business. And so, I think that when, we have to keep in mind when people are making $15 an hour, and that's over twice as much as they were before potentially, the prices of things may have to go up slightly. So let's say, let's say somebody goes from making $10 an hour to $15 an hour. Well, every day they're working 8 hours and they're making $40 more a day. And, over a week, that's, 5 times, that's $200 or whatever. So if they go and they buy a frozen custard from me, and now it's gone from $7 for a large to $8.50 or $9. Well, they've made $200 extra in the last week or two, or in the last week. I'm imagining that they're going to be okay with the fact that they may have to pay an extra $1.50 or $2 for this item, right? And I know that groceries will go up. I know that they will. I know that, there will be certain commodities that aren't luxuries that you will just have to, make up for. But it's the exact same argument that people made when I was trying to get them to join a union. I was like, listen, guys, I could not join a union and make $29,000 a year, or I could join a union and I could make $36,000 a year. And what it costs me is $40 in dues a month. Now you do the math. I'm out $40 a month. That's like, how many hundreds a year, and I'm making thousands more. So, I understand that businesses will have to pay more. They will have to raise their rates in order to do that. And we as consumers will also have to pay more. But the thing is, there's no reason why your rent should have to go up. And so, because that's not something that is reliant on, the workforce. So it will be an incredible benefit to those people who need help paying their bills. Your electricity is going to be going up, and it shouldn't because of this, but it will. We know that the rates are going up. They may go up 300% in the next 8 years. So, buckle up. But that's just, that's something that doesn't have to. These things, rent, gasoline, that doesn't have to go up, right? So they'll manufacture a price increase on that. But in general, I think it'll be a net benefit for people. And business owners, yes, they will have to raise their rates, but we'll pay it, and we'll pay it happily. And why? Because our friends and family deserve more. They deserve to be treated with respect. And if that means that we can no longer buy a $1 hamburger, then maybe in the year 2025, we can't buy a hamburger that costs $1. And as a country, we're just going to have to mature past that and say, yeah, we're going to have to pay more for that. We just will. I know that's a tough love kind of messaging on that, but there are times where we have to be honest with ourselves and say we're just approaching this in such a ridiculous way, and I think that a lot of us have been conditioned to feel like, oh, we can't touch minimum wage because it will affect small business. Yeah, it's going to affect small business. They're going to have customers with a lot more discretionary money to come spend in their businesses. So I think in the end, it's going to be a net gain. It absolutely will.
No,
Does that answer your question, Michael? I'm
no,
sorry.
yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. Sometimes I start talking and then I think, oh my God, where did I even start? So did I get back there?
No, I love that about you. I've told them before. I was like, I've seen you on lives, and I'm like, I love how he just like this fire and
Yeah,
flips
just
it.
goes and goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. I'm gonna kick it back to Elizabeth.
Yeah. So I am going to ask. There was a couple questions in here that talked about if you were. I can't remember if you were part of the Oklahoma Democratic Disability Federation. Where was that? I think it was. Did anybody
I
else
don't,
see that, or is it just me?
No, I
I
saw it.
don't
It
know if
said,
I
"Are you
am or
working
not.
with them?"
I don't think, I mean, I'm not working with them. I know that I have paid dues to several federations because I wanted to make sure they had money in their budgets. But, and that could be one that I belong to. I know that I have paid dues to the Veterans Federation, the OHAPI, which is the Asian American and Hawaiian descent group. So, literally, I'm
Nice.
telling you a lot of them. So maybe them, but I don't work directly with them.
Okay, nice, nice. I thought I asked that. I'm also going to skip over to Chicken Chicken talked about the data centers. Um,
Yeah.
do you have something rolling around that you would help us keep them out of here? Or if they're going to be here, what can we do?
Well, I just want to assure you I hate them probably as much as you do. Hopefully, you hate them as much as I do.
Absolutely, we
These
do.
data centers are they are drains on our economy. Number one, they are oftentimes given incentives, tax breaks, and such, and they don't employ enough people ever to really justify that. They use up an incredible amount of electricity. And when we aren't expanding our clean energy grid anymore, because remember, the One Big Beautiful Bill took away the subsidies for the green energy um, sources. So we're not going to be expanding our green energy network anytime soon. And so we have all the electricity that we're going to have for a little while, right? And so
Okay.
if these data centers are gobbling it all up, you and I are going to be paying more for that electricity. So there's another place where your electricity will be rising. And then the third way that they are absolutely the worst kinds of neighbors is water pollution. These places absolutely trash the land around them and the watershed below them. And so we pride ourselves on our state, despite the fact that we have raped it from one side to the other to get natural gas and oil out of it. The fact that we let, you know, bird shit and pig shit from Arkansas flow in, and we don't fight harder to make that stop. We trash it, but there's so much beauty here that we have to protect. And I think that data centers seem like they're clean, they seem high tech. There's this kind of connotation around high tech, and it couldn't be further from the truth. They are disgusting pigs, and they will ruin our state. So we must do everything to keep them out. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I really don't. I don't know
Right.
if it's a bill at the state level that says, how they're going to be managed. If they're in Oklahoma, they need to look this way. They can only, if you're gonna draw power, you build your own damn plant. And you build it to this code. And if you want water, well, then you build a dam and you dredge that lake and you figure out how to maintain that. Like, why are we paying for that as citizens? So we need to make sure that the terms are clear. And again, I don't know if that's at the state or the federal level, but I don't want you to think it's not on my radar, because
All right.
it absolutely is. This is no joke, and these things are huge. They are football fields in size, and the danger of them can't be overstated.
Right. Love that. Anybody have any limited waste? Michael, do you have anything, or no?
Yeah. You go ahead.
Oh no, I was thinking, and this is a good question. So I'm thinking like a data center, like coming from like Google. So I would assume that Google would pay, even though they're sucking up all this electricity, I would assume that Google would be paying their own electricity. Not sure if that's how that works or not, but I did see that in a question. I was like, that's really something good idea to look up.
Well, I know that there are some data centers, they will build them, directly next to a power plant. And the idea is then, because there's less infrastructure, they can work out deals on, how much they get, like at a discount rate for their electricity, because they're using a lot of it, and they don't have to transport it very far. We're right here, right? So,
All
I
right.
mean, they do pay, but what they pay isn't, it's never fair. It's never what you pay. It's never what I
Right.
pay, and that's what they need to be paying. We're gonna make them pay. Man, aren't we?
Right. You're gonna do this. I'm good. Does anybody have anything to caveat to that?
The thing I hate about data centers are they brand themselves as, oh, we make so much electricity. The problem with that is, right, it just energizes what they need. While why why couldn't that be something for the community? Like, I mean, I
Right.
don't need, I guess this is just a statement, I guess, but that's the thing that I think irritates me most, and the decades and decades and decades that they get of tax breaks
Yes.
while we continue to pay that.
Yes. No, I couldn't agree more. It's those tax breaks. It's the most disrespectful thing in the world. I mean, I know that there are politicians who are so in their world that they don't they it's like they just don't realize how insulting it is to everyday people to watch them give millions of our dollars away on a whim when we struggle to buy groceries,
Why
when
wouldn't
our
they tax them? Because, I mean, at that point, right, you would almost be able to argue, well, that's going into that economy there locally.
right. Right.
You would
And
maybe get a little less pushback, right? But
right.
no.
I mean, you would think they would almost want to buy some goodwill by just paying their damn taxes. I mean,
No, they're just
if
like,
I
screw
were
you.
a if I were a mega corporation now, I would be on TV like all day long talking about how I pay my taxes. And and then I would be that guy who's like, "What? Like you pay taxes? Like fine, I'll buy your stuff." Because I do vote with my dollars. The few votes that I have in dollars, I do spend them wisely. I make sure that they're with companies that I respect and that I trust. And sometimes you have to deal with the devil. We all have. We live in Oklahoma, and your option may be limited. I know that there are people out there who can't grocery shop at the place they want to. They have to go to a Dollar General that's nearby to get some groceries, or they've got to go to Walmart. I understand that. But when we have choices, I do choose just to make sure that, they understand that we're watching, and if they did the right thing, we would certainly reward them, right? But they don't do the right thing. And they never do. And that's why we have to make laws, because if we wait for companies to do the right damn thing, oh my God, we won't have a country. I mean, it'll be gone. It'll be the corporation, United States Incorporated, like that's what will be. So, and not a very good one at that.
Michael, did you have a follow up?
Just kind of a different direction, but I just have a general question.
Sure.
How do your values inform your policy decisions?
How do my values inform my policy decisions? Okay. So, like most people in Oklahoma, I think I was raised Christian. I was raised, the brimstone and fire kind of Baptist, weeping on the altar, because I'm, the worst sinner in the world kind of Christianity. And I have bounced around from different churches, thankfully. I think that some people would look at my faith journey and think like, oh my God, I wouldn't want to have been Methodist and Baptist and gone to a Pentecostal church for a while and got really scared, and then went to a Catholic church and converted, and then, went on a completely different spiritual journey and then came back to Christianity. Like that would be scary to some of them. And for me, it was, it helped inform how I see the world, and understanding my own faith as a Christian. I'm one of those people who understands that the Bible's not the perfect book. It was translated by people. Those translations are bullshit in many cases, and I can tell right from wrong. And so, as a Christian, and people will ask me, Eric, how? How can you be a Democrat and be a Christian? And my answer is, I am a Democrat because I'm a Christian. It's the only party that actually takes care of the people Jesus told us to take care of, for God's sakes. There's only one doing it, and it's us. And so that's how my policy is informed by the fact that I am a Christian. And the kind of Christian that believes that Christians should follow what Jesus says and the rest is all just filler. If he said to take care of someone, that matters more than the fact that God burned, down this town or turned this town to salt or did whatever the hell he did. Like, I don't care. Jesus said to take care of the sick, so I'm going to do that. And he said to feed the hungry, and I'm going to do that too. And he said, that charging people interest is a crime, and I believe that. Like he said a lot of things that they would like to pretend that he didn't. And so that's why they don't really want to listen to me, because I'm saying a lot of the things in policy that Jesus would be saying today, and I don't think that they want to hear that, because it invalidates the fact that they claim to be Christian. So how does my faith inform it? I am a bleeding heart, Jesus following red letter Christian. And when I get to Washington, I'm not compromising one goddamn inch on that, like not one. So that's that.
That's perfect.
Miss Elizabeth, did you have another question for?
Yeah, kind of. I'm going to kind of veer off. One of my passions is, you talk about healthcare. I go with mental health and substance use that go along with the healthcare,
Yes.
along with wellness, right? So we have 8
Sure.
dimensions of wellness, and how are we going to apply that? La 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 la. I am loving what I'm hearing so far with healthcare and all of that. How are you? So I'm also big with this in the schools as well, right?
Yeah.
Because once upon a time, as a community-based clinician, I was also like to go into schools, talk with kids, blah blah blah, as a mental health care professional. That is, all of this is dwindling away, right? So I keep hearing like we have these great ideas, but as we're talking about wanting to do this and bringing it forward, they're gradually being taken away.
Right.
What is something like, what is your idea to, I know we've talked about it with healthcare, but it's all wrapped up together with me, right? Like for me, it's all wrapped up. It's all part
Right.
of that wellness, and we want that full
Yep.
person.
Well, and that's just like you said, it's part of healthcare. I don't look at, mental health services as something separate. It's like when people try to separate out eye exams or dental. These are all parts of healthcare, and I hate that we parse them out like that. Like the health of your brain isn't as important as the health of your heart or something. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. So, when I talk about healthcare, I'm talking about mental health access. And when I say, we need clinics across the country to service people, that includes mental health services. And that means we do need to be training mental health professionals, and we will offer them the exact same deal that we offer a doctor. Like, here's your education, go and serve in a high needs area for 10 years. You won't have a debt. We'll provide your education if you just serve your fellow man. We'll pay you a fair wage. You can live, in a great part of America, maybe one you've never seen, but we have to incentivize people to go to these places. And unfortunately, right now, too many people, their only option is the military. That is a real legitimate option for them. That's their fallback. That's what they can do no matter what. And if we can say to people, no matter who you are, if you want to work in one of these clinics, we will educate you. If you want to build one of these clinics, we'll educate you on how to do that. If you want to, the point is that we have to be willing to meet everyone where they are, find the education and training that they need, and put them to work for our country.
I
We
love
have to
that.
stop. We have to stop making homelessness criminal. We have to lift these people up. We have to get them back on their feet. We have to put them back
Mm-hmm.
into our society so they can start being productive again. I mean, it's not about, it doesn't even have to be about doing the right thing. If you're having these conversations with people who only think about money, let them know it is cheaper to help a homeless person get back on their feet than it is to let them continue in misery. It's cheaper to adopt a Medicare for all system in this country than it is to continue paying for the shitty healthcare system we have now that doesn't cover everybody and costs the rest of us who do have coverage an absolute fortune. I mean, it's letting them know that we're doing this in such a ridiculously economically disadvantaged way that it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And so healthcare, mental health care, those are tied together. And I've said this on the campaign trail. We make sure that we have a post office in every single town. We make sure that you can receive your bills. If we prioritize having healthcare access in every town, we can make it happen. Because if we can have postmen and postwomen in every single damn town across this country, we can have a nurse. We can have a doctor. If we just commit to it. It says what our priorities are. You look at us and you see our priorities. My priorities are healthcare. My priorities are education. And when I get a hold of that budget, that's what it's going to look like. Lots of mental health care too. One of my best friends is a mental health professional. And so this is something that I am very well educated on. She has enlightened me, a billionfold on this. So trust me, I know what a struggle this is. I know how important this is. Substance abuse is something that has affected my family. Mental health issues has affected my family. I have struggled with these things myself at times. And so I absolutely am committed to making sure that people have the services they need, and that includes mental health services.
Good. I love that. Thank you. Michael or Tiffany, you got anything?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, no. I didn't know if there was anything that's now that we've been talking about this, Eric, and, we're kind of brainstorming, like, what do you got? What are you thinking? All the things. Is there anything that we have talked about that maybe sparked something within you that you now want to share with us?
Oh, gosh, let me think. I love the questions of, like, what can we do? That came up a couple times. And, I think that there is so much that all of us can do every single day to move the needle on so many issues. And sometimes it's just as simple as, it's just standing up for the truth. I've been saying it all along. We've got to start organizing. We have to do this. Well, what does organizing mean? Organizing can be talking about, really difficult subjects with your family in ways that maybe you were not comfortable doing before. And, some people are like, oh, Eric, I'm not really comfortable starting a conversation like that. I don't think I can get into that. Fine. Sometimes it can look just like all you have to say is, you know what? If Uncle Jim says something really, really wrong, all you got to do is just say, that doesn't sound right to me. That's weird. I don't think that that's right. Can you prove that? And just leave it like that. And the point isn't to be right, okay? You're not going to change their minds. But what you do is you showed somebody at that table that was watching that interaction that it is okay to stand up and say that something isn't right. It is okay to push back and say that that's misinformation. And giving other people that courage, lighting that fire one by one by one, that's how we organize in this fight. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen the night before, the election. It's something we're building every single day. Every conversation we have, I'm trying to get through to people in a genuine way so that they understand that there's no bullshit here. I just want what you want. I want
Right.
decency from our government. I want to live my life in peace. I wish I didn't have to run for this office because I'm so intensely private. But times are what they are. And if I can jump into this race, if I can sling frozen custard by day and run for Congress by night, hopefully other people will be inspired to do something in their communities. They'll be inspired to get out and help, people like me who are running today. And on that point, I just want to add, there's one thing I would beg of Democrats. Please, for the love of God, don't wait until the primaries to choose a candidate. I know that we want all voices to be heard, and I absolutely do too. But there's no shame in supporting a candidate now with all of your heart, fighting for them like hell, helping them build an organization, and then losing your primary and having to, switch, pivot, and help someone else, because you're going to take that organization you just built and you're just going to apply it to another candidate who's not Josh Burkeen. And that's really what's important. And
Right,
so, I just don't want people to wait, because there is this idea in the Democratic Party, I keep running up against it, that they just want to stay neutral until this is all over. Well, let me tell you, if you stay neutral until June, we will lose this race. You cannot win the fourth most Republican district in the entire country. You cannot win that if you're running a race in 4 months, which is what we would be doing. So understand that you have to pick someone. If you hate me, fine, pick Brandon, but pick someone, because those networks have to be built out now. These campaigns have to grow, and they've got to do it today. And so support someone. And you might say, how can I support them? Okay, donate. Of course, you know that. You can give money. And if you don't have any, because times are tough, follow, like, and share on social media. It can't be overstated. The more times people see stuff, the more followers we get, and then the more people see the next one, and it grows and it snowballs, and that's how you get exposure. There are people right now who don't even know my name. They don't know my name because they don't know I'm running, because we aren't as well known. And so making sure that you support candidates by following and dispersing or disseminating their social media is really important to do. And so these are ways that you can move the needle. You can support candidates. You can stand up for what's right in everyday life. And we have to start doing that now. That's how we return our country to decency. It's not combative, it's decent. And you are allowed to disagree with people in a democracy. And we still live in one of those, by the way. So do it. It's okay. And having those hard conversations is just patriotic in my book. It really is. So don't discount Thanksgiving. What a great American tradition, having that nice dessert pushback.
Love that. We do have a really good question in the chat that I wanted to bring up quickly before we disperse here. This is from Shenanigans. Your current elected opponent is pushing for interim studies on AI in schools. What are your thoughts on AI in schools?
I'm not a huge fan of artificial intelligence. That's something that has grown very quickly and does not have enough. There aren't enough safeguards in place. There aren't enough regulations. There's no oversight, and we're entering uncharted territory. And so I am sure that there are ways in which artificial intelligence, AI, can help in an educational environment. We will discover those. We will use them appropriately in the future. But for now, I don't think that there's a place for AI in the classroom. I think there's about as much place for AI in the classroom as there are on our Medicaid death panels. which you have here in Oklahoma, by the way. If you don't know, AI will be deciding whether or not you get health care if you're on Medicaid. So, or Medicare. Gosh, I mix them up all the time. I can't remember which one it is because they're always Medicare. So just so you know, if you didn't know, I'm not a big fan of AI. I'm just not. I'm sorry. I know
and
it's
they're
smart,
the reason we need data centers, right? What do you think's in the data centers?
I've never been one for like, kissing ass or boots, and they're just another overlord. They really are. They're just waiting in the wings. Data, knowledge, we all know that is power. And they are collecting massive, massive, massive amounts of data on all of us. And so I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of those at all.
Michael, Elizabeth, do you have any lasting questions?
I think I'm good. It's been a really great night.
Yeah.
If
Thank you. I had a
you
great time.
could describe your campaign's core message in one sentence, what would that be?
One sentence. I think
That's challenging.
I think that on my walking card, it has a really great sentence. It says, I'm fighting for working people because I am working people. And I think that kind of wraps up everything. I know what it looks like from down here. I've never seen it from up there, but I know what it looks like from down here. And this shit has to change now. So that would be it.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for joining us on Humpday Exchange. And we look forward to having you again after the first of the year.
That's right.
Yeah,
so
I think
we have a debate. So that was one of the questions. Yes. So
Perfect.
would you be willing to come back
Sure.
for a debate? I think you've got you and Brandon, and we would love to see how that goes, right? Because we want to promote you, right? We want to get your name out there. We need your name out there, whether it's you, Brandon, like you said, like, I don't care who you pick one, but something has to change, and I love that.
Well, and
I am going to throw this out there because Political Woodstop has asked like 3 times, and I kept going back to look, and we don't have to answer it now, but she wanted to know what law would Erik want to see passed at the federal level?
Yeah, first thing, day one, I want Medicare for all. That's what we're pushing for first thing. Like we talked about earlier, step one, we've got to get healthcare access to people, and that starts by covering people. Then we'll talk about how we build out our network from there. But that's focus priority number one, making sure healthcare is taken care of. Yep. And can I just throw in there, when we talk about organizing, if you can't support me and you can't support Brandon, then that just means that you need to run for office yourself. That's the only solution there. So, and not necessarily against me. Please, if you're great, do. But maybe it's a city council race. Maybe it's a county commissioner. Maybe it's something local. But let's take back some school board seats. Let's make this moment matter. And I think that means sweeping things up and down that ballot.
Nice. I love that. Thank you.
Perfect.
But I think we're good. So I guess we'll get you back on here coming up for that debate. That'll be awesome.
And, hey, Michael, reach out to me about that Men for Choice thing. I'd like to get you hooked up with that for sure.
Yeah, I will message you when I get off.
Perfect.
I'm excited.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
very
so much.
Very excellent interview here.
Perfect.
Appreciate you coming on. And we're definitely getting you a link out or a conversation going. We're going to get y'all up here.
Yep.
Perfect.
All right.
I gotta finish it out. For the song.
You have to dance with us. Yeah, there we go.
This is our special song.
Congratulations, Zoran. I'm not afraid to say it. I love it.
There you have it, Humpday Exchange, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. We have Elizabeth and Michael always asking the important questions. Thank you guys for joining us on Hump Day.
Thank you so much. Yay. Thank you
Bye,
guys
guys.
so much.
Have a good night.
Yay. Have a good night.